Chapter 11 denies it. Luo Shui, a saintly figure of his generation, was utterly despairing upon seeing the blood-red pocket watch. Feng Luo frowned and asked, "Sect leader, what is this?" The other disciples, elders, and deacons of the Lingshu Holy Land all frowned as they watched. A blood-red pocket watch was enough to make the Luo Shui sect leader's legs go weak. It should be noted that the Luo Shui sect leader was a Saint Lord-level expert who rectified chaos, defied fate, and reshaped the universe 10,000 years ago. He's actually weak-kneed for a mere mortal? This greatly displeased Feng Luo. Luo Shui did not answer Feng Luo, but said bitterly, "Didn't you all disappear?" Li Xiandao gave a cold laugh and said, "You think we've disappeared, so you're breaking the contract you signed 10,000 years ago and pretending this didn't exist.
Do you remember what the consequences of breaking the contract are?"
Before Luo Shui could speak, Feng Luo shouted angrily, "You, a mere mortal of the first rank, dare to flaunt your power before the leader of my holy land.
Kneel down before me."
Li Xiandao's eyes turned cold, and he said in a low voice, "You want me to kneel down? I don't care whose side you are, but you don't even have the cultivation level to start a new era, yet you dare to run wild in my Lingshu Holy Land.
You're simply audacious."
Feng Luo was furious and wished he could tear Li Xiandao to pieces. It was because of Li Xiandao that his succession was disrupted. Luo Shui's expression was conflicted. He knew that Li Xiandao had no cultivation and was not to be feared. But the key point is that Li Xiandao came with a blood-red pocket watch. Li Xiandao represents the heaven and earth bank.
This is what Luo Shui fears.
Luo Shui was wary, but Feng Luo was not. He attacked directly, his anger clouding his judgment. All he wanted to do now was kill Li Xiandao. Boom. Feng Luo's cultivation level is basically the same as that of the various sect leaders of the Great Separation of Earth, which is commonly known as sect leader-level combat power, representing the average combat power of a sect leader. He could easily annihilate a mere mortal with a flick of his finger. A flash of cold light burst forth, darting through the clouds at incredible speed, and instantly arrived before Li Xiandao, transforming into a deadly weapon to kill him. Luo Shui saw this and did not stop it. He had also made up his mind. Since I've already breached the contract, I'll continue to breach it to the end. Therefore, he was going to watch Li Xiandao be killed. At this moment, everyone in the entire Lingshu Holy Land was watching, hoping to see Li Xiandao killed. Li Xiandao noticed this scene but remained unmoved, and was not surprised by Luo Shui's reaction. He had the confidence to come to the Holy Land of spiritual void. This confidence comes from the Emperor's pen that floats above their heads. This celestial artifact belongs to the Heavenly Bank. Qiandi Money Shop is now his. In other words, the Emperor's brush belongs to Li Xiandao. Facing the chilling glint of light so close at hand, Li Xiandao sneered, showing no fear, and said, "It's one thing that you broke the contract, but now you actually want to kill me."
The Spirit Void Holy Land will suffer a great calamity today.
Luo Shui coldly replied, "Since I've made it, I won't change it. You have no cultivation, yet you can become an envoy. This shows how weak the people behind you are. And you still expect me to fulfill the contract? Go to hell." Feng Luo roared angrily, slapping down to smash Li Xiandao into a meat patty. Killing Li Xiandao wasn't enough. He also wanted to crush Li Xiandao's body. Li Xiandao said indifferently, "If you're courting death, then don't blame me. Just reach out and tap." The Emperor's brush, which was suspended in mid-air, suddenly went into action.
A powerful slash.
A divine light descended, like a sword aura, slaying everything in its path, neutralizing Feng Luo's attack, and then crashing down fiercely.
Rumble.
On the main hall plaza of the Lingshu Holy Land, an unfathomable abyss appeared. The vast square was now divided in two. Li Xiandao stood to one side, unharmed, watching indifferently. Luo Shui and Feng Luo stood on one side, staring in disbelief. Feng Luo's cultivation level is not weak. He possesses the combat power of a sect leader. Otherwise, he would not have inherited the position of sect leader of the Lingshu Holy Land. However, his angry attack was actually neutralized by Xiandao in this way. At this moment, everyone involuntarily looked at the celestial artifact, the Emperor's brush, which was floating in mid-air. Feng Luo exclaimed in shock and anger. How could you command the heavenly Emperor's brush of my Lingshu Holy Land? If it weren't for the Emperor's brush saving Xiandao, that attack just now would have completely killed him, shattering him to pieces. So, why was Xiandao able to make the Emperor's brush deliver this attack? This was a question that not only Feng Luo wanted to know, but also that of everyone watching around.
Isn't the Emperor's brush from the sacred land of spiritual emptiness?
How could an outsider, someone with no cultivation, be able to drive it? Xiandao sneered and said, Your heavenly Emperor's brush from the spirit void Holy Land? Of course, the Emperor's brush belongs to my Lingshu Holy Land, Feng Luo said without hesitation. What a joke! Xiandao scoffed, extremely disdainful. Ask Luo Shui, who's right beside you, how exactly did he obtain the Emperor's brush? Feng Luo immediately looked at Luo Shui, his eyes filled with doubt. Luo Shui remained silent, her fists clenched, filled with anger but also a sense of powerlessness. How can the origin of the Emperor's pen be revealed? Once this was revealed, the sacred name of Lingshu Holy Land was completely lost. Seeing Luo Shui remain silent, Feng Luo's heart sank to the bottom. Not only him, but everyone in the entire Lingshu Holy Land was dumbfounded. The ownership of the Emperor's pen is in question. This is a fatal blow to the Lingshu Holy Land. Xiandao sneered. Since you dare not say it, then I will tell you. The Emperor's brush was borrowed from the forces behind me by Luo Shui 10,000 years ago. It was clearly stated at the time that it would be borrowed for 50 years, and the Emperor's brush would be returned after 50 years. At the same time, the Lingshu Holy Land would become our slaves and serve us for 1,000 years. Xiandao's voice was very soft, but the effect it had was no less than a storm of the century. Everyone in the entire Lingshu Holy Land stared at Luo Shui in disbelief. How could this be? Luo Shui gritted her teeth, her eyes bloodshot as she stared at Xiandao, wishing she could tear him to pieces and stop him from continuing. But could Xiandao be stopped by him? Xiandao continued with a cold laugh. Unfortunately, Luo Shui violated the contract. The 50-year term has expired, and he actually seized the Emperor's brush and refused to become a slave. According to the contract, violating the contract will result in a 10-fold increase. So today, I am here to take back the Emperor's brush and also to collect the penalty interest for breach of contract. Spirit Void Holy Land, I will be your slave for 10,000 years. Anyone who dares to disobey, don't blame me for being impolite. Xiandao said coldly. His words enraged everyone in the Spirit Void Holy Land, who glared at him angrily. Feng Luo roared, My Lingshu Holy Land is an eternal holy land, how dare you humiliate it? Today you will surely die. Luo Shui's eyes were filled with murderous intent as she coldly said, Do you think you can do whatever you want just because you can wield the Emperor's brush? Feng Luo, go and kill him.
Stop the Emperor's brush.
I want to see who dares to make my Lingshu Holy Land a slave today. Luo Shui went completely mad. He had lost all reverence and only wanted to kill Xiandao and seize the Emperor's brush. As for the contract, it's just a piece of waste paper. He signed it, but I don't acknowledge it. What can you do about it? Chapter 12 A Qing's Helping Hand.
Chapter 12. You are the slave, I am the master. Part 2.
Boom. Once Luo Shui made his decision, he didn't hesitate and immediately took action. His Saint Lord level combat power allowed him to fly into the sky and unleash his power against the Emperor's brush.
Ban ban ban.
True energy, like thunder and flames, erupted and instantly enveloped the Emperor's brush. Luo Shui knew that the Emperor's brush possessed a spirit. It was a celestial artifact, not a weapon from the mortal realm. Your heavenly Emperor brush is a supreme celestial artifact, unparalleled in my Lingshu holy land, revered and worshipped by countless people. Why go to that place and be at the mercy of others? Luo Shui tried to persuade the heavenly Emperor Brush to submit to the Lingshu holy land. But what awaited him was only a cruel blow from the Emperor's pen. Boom! This attack was extremely fierce. Once it erupted, it was like a thunderbolt, instantly killing Luo Shui's thunder flame true chi. The Emperor's brush is extremely mysterious. Behind it emerges an invincible phantom, which is its spirit, coldly gazing at the Luo River. Ignorant people, who lead the Lingshu holy land and act arrogantly, are nothing more than frogs at the bottom of a well, incapable of progress. The heavenly Emperor's brush was utterly disdainful of Luo Shui's proposal and remained unmoved, its loyalty unwavering to the heavenly bank.
Luo Shui's face darkened, her eyes turning fierce.
She said, "Since you insist on this, then don't blame me for taking action against you. I have been kindly taking care of you for 10,000 years. For 10,000 years, I have offered sacrifices day and night, spreading your fame and making you high above others. You have always ignored me, but I don't care, because I believe that as long as I am sincere to you, I will eventually move you. But when your ex came, even though he had no cultivation, you opened your heart to him. That's simply outrageous." Luo Shui's eyes turned red with jealousy, and she gritted her teeth in hatred. "You forced me to stay for 10,000 years, not me. All of this is just wishful thinking on your part. I will never be yours, nor will I belong to the Spirit Void Holy Land," the Emperor said bluntly.
"I don't care if I can't have you, I leave your body in the Spirit Void Holy Land. I'm going to kill your ex today."
Luo Shui went completely mad, leaping up like a demon or a god, and spreading his massive hand.
Seale haben anders.
This is an astonishing technique. In an instant, the entire area, encompassing 300 miles, was isolated. He wanted to sever the connection between the Emperor's brush and Li Xiandao, so that the Emperor's brush would be without a master and unable to perform its functions. At the same time, Luo Shui said coldly, "Feng Luo, kill this useless mortal. How dare he try to steal the heavenly Emperor's brush from my Lingshu holy land? He's courting death." Upon seeing this, Feng Luo's eyes lit up, and he grinned maliciously. "This time you are doomed to die, and no one can save you." Li Xiandao frowned upon seeing this. He tried to sense the Emperor's brush, but to his surprise, he couldn't detect it. "Master, the connection between the Emperor's brush and the heavenly bank has been severed. You should have put the Emperor's brush into the heavenly bank or kept it in your hand just now," Xiao Qi said seriously. Li Xiandao raised an eyebrow, realizing he had been careless or lacked experience, and asked, "Isn't there any other way?" "Let's hide in the heaven and earth bank to avoid the brunt of the attack, and come out when the Emperor's brush breaks the seal," Xiao Qi said after thinking for a moment. Li Xiandao had no cultivation and no heavenly Emperor's brush, so he couldn't withstand Feng Luo's attack at all. Even if Feng Luo's aura were to strike, Li Xiandao would be injured, or even killed. Li Xiandao frowned. He was very unwilling to hide. He had agreed to come and take in the servants, but now that the servants were rebelling, he still had to hide. Feng Luo wouldn't give Li Xiandao any time to think. He had long hated Li Xiandao. It was all because of Li Xiandao that the greatest event of his life was ruined. Feng Luo wanted to tear Li Xiandao to pieces. Feng Luo shot forward, arriving in front of Li Xiandao in an instant. He spread his 5 fingers and shot out fiery red flames, which were extremely hot and could burn Li Xiandao's body to ashes in an instant. Li Xiandao stared at the other party. "I desperately didn't want to hide inside the heaven and earth money shop. But if he doesn't hide inside, how can he defend himself?" "Master, let's go into the heaven and earth bank," Xiao Qi advised. Just as Li Xiandao was about to agree, a sharp cyan light descended from the sky and severed Feng Luo's hand in an instant. "Ah!" Feng Luo screamed in agony as he was blasted away by the force, his body slamming into the golden cauldron hole and destroying it. A graceful figure slowly descended, attracting the attention of everyone present. "Who is this person?" That's too powerful. It severely injured Feng Luo with a single blow, and Feng Luo couldn't react at all. This woman is absolutely terrifying. This woman is definitely not simple. The onlookers were all talking amongst themselves, marveling at the powerful forces behind Li Xiandao. At this moment, Li Xiandao stared at the woman in front of him. Ain. The woman who just signed a contract with the Heaven and Earth Money Shop and took away 100 years of her lifespan. She has reached the realm of immortals. Defeating Feng Luo would be a piece of cake, without any difficulty. Oching turned her head, her beauty breathtaking, her face flushed and delicate, like that of a young woman in her late teens, a stark contrast to her previous state of being white-haired and on the verge of death.
Are you an envoy from the Abenanders Bank?
Oching asked. Li Xiandao nodded, his eyes clear, and said, I am the newest envoy. Very good. Here are 1 million divine sources. Keep them safe. Oching stared at Li Xiandao, then tossed out a storage magic item. Li Xiandao took it and had Xiao Qi check it. After Xiao Qi confirmed that there was no problem, he immediately put it into the Heaven and Earth Money House. Okay, from now on, the contract is settled. Li Xiandao said with a smile. The arrival of these 1 million divine sources greatly alleviated Li Xiandao's urgent crisis, and he now truly had confidence. Oching looked up at the sky. The Luo River was sealed off for 300 miles, and the area above was a vast expanse of white, making it impossible for ordinary people to see clearly. However, Oching's cultivation was extraordinary, and after seeing it clearly, she smiled and said, Do you need my help? Seeing that Li Xiandao had no cultivation, she wanted to do him a favor. Li Xiandao shook his head and said, No need. They don't know how terrifying the Heaven and Earth Bank is. They are like frogs at the bottom of a well, insignificant and vulnerable. Oching watched with great interest, wanting to see what method Li Xiandao had to defeat Luo Shui and recoup this bad debt. Master, you can now burn your divine source to activate the power of the Heaven and Earth Bank, Xiao Qi reminded Li Xian. Burn. Li Xiandao said without hesitation. He now has 1 million divine sources, which he can burn recklessly. Xiao Qi immediately burned 100 divine sources, unleashing tremendous power, which was then transferred to the Emperor's brush. Rumble. The Heavenly Emperor's brush, which had absorbed some of Feng Luo's energy, could not maintain its strong attack power for 300 miles and became entangled with the Luo River. But the next second, a force came from afar, greatly increasing the power of the Emperor's brush. With energy, the power that the immortal artifact could unleash was simply unbelievable. Ban. With just a jolt, Luo Shui felt as if his entire body had shattered. His face was filled with horror and disbelief. We were evenly matched just a moment ago. How come you're on drugs the next second? Chapter 13 Occupying the Spirit Void Holy Land. The Emperor's brush, now imbued with the energy of the burning divine source, unleashed its power, severely injuring Luo Shui with a single strike. His bones and muscles were broken, and he was covered in blood, a truly pitiful sight. I sealed off these 4 areas. How did you obtain the energy? Luo Shui looked at the Emperor's brush in shock and anger, unable to understand how the Emperor's brush could unleash its power. Immortal artifacts are very powerful and require a lot of energy. Even Feng Luo, who channeled all his energy into the Emperor's brush, could only activate it briefly.
This is the limit.
Therefore, the Emperor's brush was left in the Lingshu Holy Land by Luo Shui for 10,000 years without leaving, because the Emperor's brush lacked energy. Immortal artifacts can absorb the vital energy of heaven and earth to replenish their losses, but only with the permission of their master. Some time ago, the Heavenly Bank lost its influence, and the Emperor's brush was not allowed to enter, so it remained silent in the Spirit Void Holy Land, ignoring everyone. But now, Li Xiandao's arrival has completely activated the Emperor's brush, causing it to erupt wildly. Especially the divine source. 100 divine sources are equivalent to a high-grade spiritual vein. This abundant energy replenishment allowed the power of the immortal artifact to be fully revealed. With a single strike of the Emperor's brush, the Luo River was severely damaged. Then, with a fierce slash, a cold light burst forth, cleaving open the sealed heaven and earth.
Rumble.
The heavens and earth were clear and bright, and the Emperor's brush stood high above, its power overwhelming all directions, unmatched by any other. Luo Shui collapsed onto the square, coughing up blood, her face filled with despair. It failed.
Everything is over.
Seeing this, Li Xiandao's eyes were indifferent. He thought, he has brought this upon himself. Luo Shui signed the contract herself. No one forced him, but after the fact, he actually took the initiative to go back on his word. Court death. Do you really think that the Qiandi Qianzhuang, a type of money exchange, is a pushover that can be manipulated at will?
Give me a pen.
Li Xiandao said calmly, extending his hand. The Emperor's brush shrank instantly, the strange phenomenon disappeared, its oppressive aura subsided, and it landed in Li Xiandao's hand. Seeing this, Luo Shui's eyes turned red with jealousy. The Emperor's brush ultimately chose the heavenly bank. His 10,000 years of effort have all gone to waste. Luo Shui, you have violated the contract of my heaven and earth bank and committed a grave offense.
Today I will grant you that.
Li Xiandao said coldly. Luo Shui laughed bitterly. You won, but I just won't acknowledge that contract. What can you do about it? Luo Shui has given up entirely. Li Xiandao sneered and said, do you really think that the contract of my heaven and earth bank is so easy to break? Looking around, all he saw were terrified faces. Li Xiandao said, from this moment on, the 100,000 mountains of the Lingshu Holy Land are all mine. You have one day to leave, or you will die. Luo Shui violated the contract, and Lingshu Holy Land should be enslaved for 10,000 years. However, Li Xiandao knew that his cultivation was inferior and he could not suppress these tens of thousands of disciples. Since that was the case, he would drive them all away.
All I want is the Lingshu Holy Land, TS 100,000 mountains. Li Xiandao will reveal the prestige of the Heaven and Earth Bank here.
Upon hearing Li Xiandao's words, Luo Shui scoffed. Wishful thinking. The Emperor's brush defeated me. That's the power of the Emperor's brush. But what are you? Feng Luo also crawled out of the ruins, gritting his teeth and saying, you're just a piece of trash, only using the Emperor's pen to bully others here. The disciples, elders, and deacons of the entire Lingshu Holy Land were filled with righteous indignation because of Li Xiandao's words. Their holy land has been established for 100,000 years. Yet Li Xiandao actually wants to drive them all away and seize the 100,000 mountains of the Lingshu Holy Land.
This is outrageous.
Many people were so angry they wanted to tear Li Xiandao to pieces to vent their rage. Li Xiandao laughed and said, the Heavenly Emperor's brush doesn't belong to you. It originally belonged to our faction. It's been sitting in your Lingshu Holy Land for 10,000 years. It's probably been itching to get rid of it.
Today, I show it to you.
The true power of the Emperor's brush. In everyone's eyes, Li Xiandao did not move. He held the Emperor's brush and wrote a character in mid-air. D. As soon as the word appeared, Feng Luo screamed in agony as countless streams of death energy entered his body. He was then decapitated and died instantly. The Emperor's brush is a celestial artifact. Its greatest power is to rewrite destiny. If I say you have to die, then you have to die. Luo Shui was stunned. The people of Lingshu Holy Land were dumbfounded. The people from all four factions were in turmoil, unable to believe their eyes. Even Miss Oching squinted at the Emperor's pen, secretly envying it. What a terrifying magical artifact. At this moment, everyone realized what a celestial artifact truly was. This kind of supernatural power, this invincible ability, is what makes a celestial artifact. Li Xiandao looked at Luo Shui, his eyes calm, and said, you are next. Luo Shui was startled. He didn't want to die either, so he immediately gathered his remaining true energy and flew away. They escaped. Luo Shui actually abandoned the Lingshu Holy Land and fled. You think you can escape? Li Xiandao sneered, picked up his pen and wrote a large kill character. In the sky, as the word kill appeared, a rain of swords instantly materialized, each sword carrying terrifying power, suppressing the Luo River in an instant. No. Luo Shui screamed and struggled desperately, but it was all in vain. In no time at all, Luo Shui was chopped to pieces, leaving no trace of his remains.
The world fell silent.
The people of Lingshu Holy Land felt a deep sense of despair. This is a battle power of a cult leader, and a battle power of a holy lord. They both died. He still perished at the hands of someone with absolutely no cultivation. This is absolutely terrifying. The people from various forces who came to watch came to the conclusion that Xiandao was not to be trifled with, and the forces behind Xiandao were even more to be trifled with. I'm giving you 1 day to leave the Lingshu Holy Land. This place no longer belongs to you. Anyone who hasn't left by the end of the day will die. Xiandao looked around and spoke. This is not a discussion, this is an order.
A death sentence.
Under the intimidation of the Emperor's pen, the people of Lingshu Holy Land felt bitter. No matter how unwilling they were, they knew that the current situation was not in their favor. In an instant, many people were packing up, taking everything they could with them. The plaza at the Golden Tripod Hall at the highest peak was instantly deserted. Everyone had quickly left. Only Xiandao and Qing remained. Xiandao put away the Emperor's brush and placed it inside the Heaven and Earth money shop. He then put his hands behind his back and looked down at the 100,000 mountains. He will be the owner of this land from now on. After 3 months of travel, Xiandao finally felt a sense of belonging. I will definitely make Tiandi Qianzhuang great again, restore its peak, and create new glory. I will come after those who owe me, one by one, Xiandao vowed in his heart. Qing looked at Xiandao, her beautiful face full of thought. What exactly is the Heaven and Earth Bank? Mysterious and unpredictable. It can change the rules of heaven and earth, and even allow a person with no cultivation to destroy a great holy land. Fear. Xiandao turned around and thanked Qing. Thank you so much for saving me this time, Miss Qing. Please take this pocket watch. If you ever encounter any danger or difficulty in the future, you can ask my Heaven and Earth Bank to do something for you as a way of repaying me. Xiandao solemnly said, handing his last pocket watch to Miss Qing. Chapter 14 New Guests. Xiandao is a grateful person. He repays kindness with kindness and avenges wrongs.
The young master of the Zhou family beat him to death, and Xiandao killed the young master of the Zhou family, causing the Zhou family to be wiped out.
Luo Shui and Lingshu Holy Land violated their agreement, so Xiandao killed Luo Shui and disbanded Lingshu Holy Land. Now that Qing has helped him, Xiandao is giving her a pocket watch in exchange for a free transaction. This is Xiandao's way of doing things. Repay kindness with kindness, never owe others anything, and never let others off lightly. Qing did not refuse the pocket watch. It was a valuable item, and it was this pocket watch that saved her life. Do you have the right to give it to me? Qing looked at Xiandao, probing his identity. No one who doesn't hold a certain position in the Heaven and Earth Bank can give away this pocket watch. Previously, Qing thought Xiandao had no cultivation and looked down on him. But now, Xiandao is extremely important to her. Since I've taken it out, it means I have the ability to give it to you, Mississippi. The Heaven and Earth Bank is capable of anything. You'll gradually understand that in the future. Xiandao smiled slightly, calm and confident. Miss Qing didn't press further. She carefully put away the pocket watch, looked around and said, "This area of the Lingshu Holy Land is a good mountain gate. There are at least 100,000 spiritual veins under the 10,000 mountains. It has been managed by 10 generations of sect leaders and now belongs to you. What do you plan to do?" Looking around at the vast Tandi, heaven and earth, and the beautiful mountains and rivers, Xiandao was filled with pride and said, "The Heaven and Earth Bank has reappeared in this world. We will use it as our base to expand to the 9 heavens and 10 earths." Who exactly are you with the Heaven and Earth Bank? Miss Qing couldn't help but ask with a touch of bravado. I am an agent of the Heaven and Earth Bank, Handling all matters in the mortal realm, Xiandao said with a slight smile. He gave himself the public identity of being an agent of the Heaven and Earth Bank, handling matters in the mortal world. In secret, Xiandao's true form wears a mask and deals with people, handling all matters. This dual identity, one overt and one covert, can ensure Xiandao's safety and also enhance the mystery surrounding the Heaven and Earth Bank. Girl Oching nodded, choosing to believe Xiandao. She couldn't reconcile the seemingly uncultivated Xiandao before her with the unfathomable master of the Heaven and Earth Money House, who wore a dark gold mask. One is in the sky, the other on the ground. They would never be associated with each other. Then I'll be leaving now. Thank you for your pocket watch. There were some things I was hesitant to do, but now that I have your watch, I can give it my all. I'll come back to thank you again next time we meet, said Miss Oching with a smile. Xiandao nodded and said, I hope you can give me a surprise next time we meet. The surprise that Xiandao was referring to was that Miss Oching broke through her cultivation level and became an immortal. A smile played on Oching's lips. She was incredibly beautiful, a true beauty whose charm was beyond compare. Okay, I'll try my best to give you a surprise. Girl Oching nodded, got up and flew away, disappearing into the horizon. Xiandao watched silently, secretly hoping that one day he too could be like that, traveling freely to the North Sea in the morning and to Kangwu in the evening. Now that we have a base, 1,000,000 divine sources, and have retrieved the immortal artifact, the Emperor's Brush, it's time to start new transactions and expand the Heavenly Bank. Xiandao pondered silently. Master, you don't have a pocket watch anymore, Xiaoqi reminded him. Of the original 3 pocket watches, 2 were traded, 1 was given to the girl Oching, and now they are gone. How do I get the pocket watch? Xiandao asked, knowing that Xiaoqi definitely knew.
I'll trade you a divine source for a pocket watch.
Xiaoqi said with a grin. Xiandao immediately said, give me 100 pocket watches. Master, you haven't activated the other regions of the Heaven and Earth Bank yet, so you can only exchange 10 coins at the moment.
Xiao reminded Xian.
Why is it only 10 yuan? Xiandao frowned. 10 pieces is quite a lot. We only had 3 pieces at the beginning. If you hadn't opened the Time Palace and added some, we would still have 3 pieces now, Xiaoqi said. 10 yuan it is, it doesn't matter. Xiandao turned around and disappeared into the world, entering the Heaven and Earth Bank. Xiaoqi immediately took out 10 pocket watches and gave them to Xiandao. This was obtained in exchange for 10 pieces of divine essence. Xiandao now possesses 1,000,000 units of divine energy, so he is not afraid of any loss and doesn't feel any heartache at all. Looking at the 10 blood-red pocket watches, Xiandao thought for a moment and then threw them all away at once. Go find suitable hosts for yourselves and bring them to the Heaven and Earth Bank. I want to make the Heaven and Earth Bank bigger and stronger.
Xiandao murmured.
Xiaoqi encouraged. Master, keep it up. Let the fame of Qiandi Qianzhuang resound throughout the heavens and the earth, and make those who break the contract pay the price. In the vast expanse of heaven and earth, everything has a glimmer of hope. Baidi City is a large city under the jurisdiction of the Heavenly Dao sect. In Baidi City, there is an invincible king. He is an elder of the Heavenly Dao sect and the actual administrator of Baidi City.
Wite Emperor, Eabenisbricht.
However, Tian Guangming and the leader of the Tian Dao sect had a bad relationship and had never gotten along, so he stayed in Baidi City and didn't go anywhere. Recently, Tian Guangming encountered difficulties on his cultivation path. He wanted to break through to the next realm, but he needed a large amount of divine source, at least 500,000. The sect leader of the Heavenly Dao sect flatly refused him, saying that divine sources were already scarce and there weren't enough for everyone, and giving him 500,000 was simply a pipe dream. Unless you submit to me. Tian Guangming rejected this condition without hesitation, thus he was stuck at this level and could not make any progress. The 5,000-year-old Tian Guangming was nearing the end of his life. He searched everywhere for divine resources, but it was all in vain, like a drop in the ocean. This made him extremely anxious. If he drags this out, the the best state for a breakthrough will disappear, and the failure rate will increase, which is unacceptable to him. On this day, in the mansion of the city lord of Chiendi City, Tian Guangming sat on the armchair with a frown, in a very bad mood.
The source of the divine power remains elusive.
Damn sect leader. You actually made others refuse to sell me divine sources just to target me.
You deserve to die.
Tian Guangming gritted his teeth, hating me to the core. His feud with the leader of the heavenly Dao sect has almost come to an open confrontation.
What soul did without divine source?
Tian Guangming thought to himself in distress. If he doesn't break through, his good form will fade, and there's basically no hope of ever getting back into such a good state again. As his time comes, he will only gradually weaken and will not be able to maintain his peak condition.
Bas.
Just then, a blood-red pocket watch appeared in the hall. Tian Guangming glanced at it and was immediately drawn in. He saw an infinite future. Being cautious by nature, he stared at it for a quarter of an hour, then stood up and reached out to shake hands. Boom. As dawn broke and Leo disappeared from the city lord's mansion, his entire being spiraled out of control, he entered the Heaven and Earth Bank. Master, the first guest has arrived, Shao Qi reminded Li Xian. Li Xiandao tidied himself up, changed into a dark black robe, put on a dark gold mask, and went to meet the guest.
Chapter 15 The Prophet's Talent. Inside the Haven and Earth Money Shop, Li Xiandao met a new guest.
A middle-aged man with a powerful stride, his hair slightly grey but neatly combed, his eyes gleaming with sharp light, and his whole body radiating vitality. This is a master. He was very vigilant, like a volcano that could erupt at any moment. Beneath his calm exterior, there was an undercurrent of turmoil. Li Xiandao's appearance caused Tian Guangming to stare intently with his tiger-like eyes, scrutinizing Li Xiandao meticulously, trying to see through his true nature. But he couldn't see through Li Xiandao's true nature.
In reality, no one in the Haven and Earth Bank could see through Li Xiandao's true nature.
Who are you? How did you get me here? What exactly is your purpose? Tian Guangming asked 3 questions in a row, filled with doubt. He couldn't leave this mysterious and eerie place, which made Tian Guangming very uncomfortable. He is an elder of a top-tier sect, possessing earth-shattering strength. In the Great Li Land, he is considered a great expert, able to come and go freely anywhere. Only here, even in broad daylight, one cannot go out. Li Xiandao sat in his seat, looking up at the bright sky, and said, "This is the Heaven and Earth Bank. I am the owner of the Heaven and Earth Bank. I didn't bring you here, your own heart led you here. So you should ask your heart what it wants, instead of asking me." Li Xiandao looked at the bright sky, completely calm. No matter how good you are, can you be as good as Oching? Miss Oching is someone who has touched the realm of immortality, but even she has to behave herself within the Heaven and Earth Money House. Li Xiandao did not indulge Tian Guangming and observed him with a normal attitude. Tian Guangming looked at Li Xian with hesitation and asked, "Is it that blood-red thing?" "That's right, that's an invitation from our Heaven and Earth Bank. You saw it, so it must be something you desperately need for that the blood-red pocket watch appeared." Li Xiandao nodded.
"I don't need anything,"
Tian Guangming said decisively. Li Xiandao didn't mind and just silently watched the bright sky. Shao Qi said from the side, "At this moment, the pocket watch tells me that you need the divine source, so it appeared." Tian Guangming frowned, looked at Li Xiandao, and said, "What kind of tricks are you playing?" "Fair trade. We have what you need, but you will have to pay a price." Li Xiandao said calmly, "The divine source I need is an immeasurable quantity. Do you have it?" Tian Guangming said disdainfully. Li Xiandao waved his hand and said, "Since you don't believe me, then please leave." Li Xiandao was too lazy to waste any more words with him. From the moment Tian Guangming entered, he had been arrogant, wary, and suspicious, treating Li Xiandao as a fraud. Li Xiandao was very busy. He gave away 10 pocket watches, and many people wanted to trade with him. Since Tian Guangming was unwilling, Li Xiandao did not force him and immediately wanted him to leave. Wait, master. The second guest has arrived, Xiao Qi suddenly said. As soon as she finished speaking, a figure appeared out of thin air in the hall. This was a young man, even younger than Li Xiandao. He stared wide-eyed at his surroundings, clutching a pocket watch in his hand. Can you grant my wish? The young man asked without any hesitation. Li Xiandao smiled, hiding behind his mask, and looked at him, saying, Sit down, let's talk slowly. The young man sat down opposite Li Xiandao, looking panicked and anxious. Zhou Tianyu, 16 years old, cultivation level of Dao asking. Li Xiandao saw the other party's basic information at first glance and was immediately surprised. At 16, he sought enlightenment and cultivated his skills. What kind of terrifying talent is this? Li Xiandao is 18 years old this year, and he hasn't even reached the stage of clearing wasteland. The other party was 16 years old and inquired about the realm of Tao. He's reached the same level as the Li family patriarch, Li Xiandao's first trading partner. The Li family patriarch was 300 years old, an age Zhou Tianyu reached at the age of 16. Xiao Qi immediately reported to Li Xiandao. Master, this person has unparalleled talent and is a rare prophet. He is worth capturing. Li Xiandao's eyes flashed, he made a mental note, and looked at Zhou Tianyu, saying, The Heaven and Earth Bank can trade anything in the world. State your wish to trade. Zhou Tianyu had clearly suffered a great calamity, with many wounds on his body, disheveled and in a low point in his life. Upon hearing this, his face contorted with rage as he said, I wanted revenge.
He killed Ming Tu, the young master of the Heavenly Dao sect.
He slaughtered my entire clan to steal my fiancé. If I hadn't run fast, I would have been killed long ago. You are now at the Dao-seeking realm. Killing him is clearly not enough. I can help you, but what price are you willing to pay? Li Xiandao asked calmly. I'll pay any price as long as you let me kill Ming Tu of the Heavenly Dao sect. Zhou Tianyu said decisively, his eyes filled with hatred. Having witnessed the massacre of his entire clan, the boy's heart was now filled with thoughts of revenge. He would give his life if it meant getting revenge. Tian Guangming, who had been standing to the side, frowned when he saw this scene. As an elder of the Heavenly Dao sect, he naturally knew who Ming Tu was. The youngest son of the current sect leader of the Heavenly Dao sect is arrogant and domineering. He is somewhat restrained within the Heavenly Dao sect, but once he leaves the sect, he is truly unruly and no one dares to provoke him. I want to see how you're going to get this kid to kill Ming Tu. Tian Guangming sneered inwardly, deciding to watch. As for Ming Tu's life or death, what does it have to do with him? Lao Tzu, who was the master of both Tian Guangming and Ming Tu, was already irreconcilable with them and wouldn't concern himself with this matter. Li Xiandao paid no attention to him. His mind was now entirely focused on Zhou Tianyu's talent. A prophet. This is what Xiao Qi told Li Xiandao. It's an extremely rare talent. A prophet can see the past and the future, swim freely in the ocean of time, and cultivate techniques. Once they get the hang of it, they can do so extremely quickly, without ever stopping. This is a top-tier talent, and there are basically no people with a talent better than this, Xiao Qi solemnly told Li Xiandao. Li Xiandao stared at Zhou Tianyu and said softly, I can let you personally kill Ming Tu of the Heavenly Dao sect to vent your anger, and I can guarantee that you will return safely. There is only one price you need to pay. What? Zhou Tianyu asked eagerly. He saw hope and was willing to give anything, no matter what it was. Tian Guangming frowned as he watched, feeling that Li Xiandao was exaggerating. The Heavenly Dao sect was incredibly powerful, the #1 top-tier power in the Greatly Land, and far more formidable than the Spirit Void Holy Land. Zhou Tianyu is just a kid at the Dao-seeking realm. What makes him think he can kill his way into the Heavenly Dao sect to seek revenge? Li Xiandao didn't care what Tian Guangming thought. He pointed and said, I want your talent. At the same time, Xiao Qi also took out a contract and handed it to Zhou Tianyu. Zhou Tianyu was dumbfounded and asked, Only my talent? Yes. Li Xiandao nodded. Zhou Tianyu clearly had no idea how terrifying his talent was.
Chapter 16. Transaction complete.
In reality, Li Xiandao didn't really understand just how powerful the prophet's talent was. Xiao Qi secretly explained to Li Xiandao. The talent of a prophet lies in the fact that once a person takes shape, he can see the essence of everything at a glance and understand everything. It is a talent that is rare and hard to come by. Throughout history, those with the talent of a prophet have been extremely rare. In recorded history, the last prophet was a powerful being who transcended time and space, back in the distant ancient era. In this era, there are countless gifted individuals and countless individuals with extraordinary abilities, but only prophets have existed for a very long time. Zhou Tianyu's talent is clearly undeveloped, to the point that he himself is unaware of how terrifying it is. Li Xiandao's eyes flickered as he memorized these details. Then he looked at Zhou Tianyu. Zhou Tianyu took the pen and carefully looked at the contract. After I sign the contract, can you really help me get revenge? Zhou Tianyu was still a little uneasy. It wasn't that he was unwilling, but he was worried that if Li Xiandao didn't avenge him after he signed the contract, he would be doomed. Also, he wanted to know exactly how to help me get revenge. Tian Guangming was also watching from the sidelines. He wanted to see how this mysterious master would let a down-on-his-luck person like Zhou Tianyun kill the young master of Mingtu. Li Xiandao nodded. Of course I will help you get revenge.
It's a contract in black and white.
We have a strong sense of contractual responsibility. Whatever is written in the contract, that's what we'll do. Zhou Tianyu held up one finger. One last question. How do you plan to help me? I will give you a treasure that will allow you to personally ascend to the Heavenly Dao sect and learn about the Mingtu. Li Xiandao said calmly. What kind of treasure could have such power? Zhou Tianyu frowned, not believing the explanation. Tian Guangming couldn't help but sneer from the side. The Heavenly Dao sect is the #1 sect in the Great Li land, with countless experts. You actually think you can kill your way up with just a weapon?
You're dreaming.
Ignoring Tian Guangming, Li Xiandao waved his hand, and a divine brush, as white as jade and stained with specks of blood-red light, appeared. Emperor's brush. This is a celestial artifact. I'll lend it to you for a week. Within that week, if you storm the Heavenly Dao sect and kill Mingtu, the power of the celestial artifact will be fully unleashed. You don't need to worry about anything. The Heavenly Dao sect shouldn't dare to confront you head-on. Li Xiandao said with a smile. He was determined to acquire Zhou Tianyun's talent, even if it meant lending out the Emperor's brush and compensating with some divine resources. Immortal artifacts.
Zhou Tianyu's eyes widen.
He had only heard of them, but had never seen them before. Every immortal artifact was unique and incredibly powerful. Tian Guangming looked on with a solemn expression. He hadn't expected that this mysterious person would give Zhou Tianyu a celestial artifact. If it were a fully unleashed immortal artifact, the Heavenly Dao sect would have a hard time dealing with it. But if Zhou Tianyu only killed Mingtu, those elders definitely wouldn't confront him head-on. Tian Guangming knew the situation within the Heavenly Dao sect, so upon seeing the Emperor's brush, he immediately became certain that Zhou Tianyu had avenged himself. What he gave up was his talent. Mystery. Fear. Unfathomable. This was Tian Guangming's feeling, and he no longer dared to underestimate Tiandi Qianzhuang. Okay, I'll sign. Zhou Tianyu looked at the Emperor's pen with a determined gaze, and decisively signed his name. Once the contract was signed, it immediately flew into Li Xiandao's hands. He examined it carefully and said with satisfaction, "Very good. I will take your talent first, and then give you the Emperor's brush." Zhou Tianyu asked worriedly, "How are you going to take it?"
Li Xiandao laughed and said, "Don't worry, I won't take your life."
Walking slowly behind Zhou Tianyun, Li Xiandao reached out and touched his forehead, saying, "Relax, don't think about anything, you'll be fine in a moment." Zhou Tianyu learned to relax and clear his mind. He was very cooperative. Li Xiandao was very satisfied. Zhou Tianyu's cooperation is the best thing for him.
Vas.
Li Xiandao reached out and grabbed Zhou Qianyu's forehead with his 5 fingers forming a claw, making a grabbing motion from a distance. As if he had grasped something of immense weight, Li Xiandao's expression remained unchanged, and he continued. But Zhou Qianyu's face showed pain as he struggled desperately and screamed. His talent was being stripped away, and naturally, he was in excruciating pain. Li Xiandao watched coldly. He wouldn't stop. He was determined to obtain this talent. Pain.
My whole body aches.
Zhou Qianyu roared and struggled desperately, but he couldn't shake off Li Xiandao. Hang in there. It'll only be a minute. Li Xiandao's face was cold, but his words were gentle, like a spring breeze, making Zhou Qianyu grit his teeth and persevere. Time passed second by second, and a large, colorful halo was drawn out by Li Xiandao. Countless futures appeared on it. Mortals who glanced at it were immediately lost in confusion and could never escape it. Even Tian Guangming, whose cultivation was quite remarkable, felt dazzled and confused, unable to control himself. So he quickly looked away. Surprised, Tian Guangming had never imagined that Zhou Qianyu's talent was so terrifying. And this terrifying talent now belongs to this mysterious person. Tian Guangming no longer doubted it at this moment. He began to think about whether he should make the deal. Ignoring Tian Guangming, Li Xiandao decisively extracted Zhou Qianyu's talent a minute later. Thump. Zhou Qianyu felt much lighter suddenly. The pain subsided, and he regained his composure. He was covered in sweat, but no longer in pain. At the same time, the light in his eyes disappeared, and he became dazed and confused. His cultivation would not be so easy in the future.
The prophet's talent lies in Li Xiandao's hands.
Shao Qi brought over a jade box, opened it, and had Li Xiandao put his talent inside before stepping away. Li Xiandao returned to his seat, looked at Zhou Qianyu, and beckoned him with his hand. Boom! The celestial artifact, the Heavenly Emperor's brush, appeared, and its intense pressure made it difficult for Zhou Qianyu and Tian Guangming to breathe, and their skin felt cracked. Li Xiandao casually flicked his wrist, and the Emperor's brush became ordinary again. He then handed it to Zhou Qianyu. I will have someone retrieve the Emperor's brush in a week. You only have 1 week, so hurry up, Li Xiandao reminded him. Zhou Qianyu took the Emperor's brush. His eyes filled with such intense hatred that it was almost tangible. He gritted his teeth and said, "A week is enough. I will definitely storm the Heavenly Dao sect and avenge my father, mother, sister, and brother."
I wished you success.
Li Xiandao said with a smile. He infused the Emperor's brush with terrifying energy from 10,000 divine sources, allowing the brush to be activated at will to help Zhou Qianyu suppress the Heavenly Dao sect. Despite paying 10,000 divine resources, Li Xiandao didn't feel any pain at all. On the contrary, he felt he had made a profit. You can leave now. Remember, you only have 1 week. Li Xiandao waved his sleeve, and Zhou Qianyu vanished instantly. Inside the main hall, only Li Xiandao and Tian Guangming remained. Now, are you going to make the deal? Li Xiandao looked at Tian Guangming and asked calmly. Tian Guangming was caught in a dilemma. Having witnessed a transaction take place, he had no doubt about its authenticity. But the question is, will he make the trade? Chapter 17. 14 Years of Slavery. Tian Guangming sat down opposite Li Xiandao and said in a deep voice, I need 500,000 divine resources. Li Xiandao nodded and said, I have it. It just so happens that Miss Oching recently exchanged for 1,000,000 divine resources, which is enough to make a deal. Otherwise, Li Xiandao really wouldn't be able to come up with that now. What do I need to give in return? Tian Guangming asked warily. He doesn't want to give up his talent. Although it's unclear what Li Xiandao wants talent for, one thing is certain. If Zhou Qianyu makes a deal with Li Xiandao, he will be the one who suffers the loss. If Li Xiandao knew what Tian Guangming was thinking, he would definitely sneer and tell him, your talent is very poor. Shao Qi didn't even remind me, which shows that your talent is ordinary. 500,000 divine resources can solve your immediate problem and give you hope. Without these 500,000 divine resources, you will gradually weaken, Li Xiandao said bluntly, seeing through Tian Guangming's inner thoughts at a glance. Tian Guangming's expression changed, becoming somewhat gloomy. He hadn't expected Li Xiandao to see right through him. Li Xiandao said calmly, "The same item has different values in the eyes of different people. You urgently need these 500,000 divine resources right now, otherwise you wouldn't be sitting here. I can give you 500,000 divine resources, but in return, the price you need to pay is..." Li Xiandao paused here. Tian Guangming stared intently at Li Xian and asked, "What price will be paid?" Just as Li Xiandao said, the leader of the Heavenly Dao sect blocked Tian Guangming's divine source channel and imprisoned him in Baidi City. The dignified Baidi was going to be worn down by the years. Tian Guangming could not accept this no matter what. Li Xiandao smirked and said, "I want you to be my slave for 14 years. Tian Guangming's expression changed drastically. He stood up abruptly, his eyes wide, and roared, "Impossible!" He was an elder of the Heavenly Dao sect, the renowned White Emperor of the Greatly Land, with unparalleled attack power and an arrogant temperament, yet he had been made a slave for 14 years.
This is outrageous.
Bai Ditian glared angrily at Li Xiandao, venting his dissatisfaction. Li Xiandao remained calm and composed. He instructed Shao Qi to prepare a contract, then picked up a pen and said, "Stop being stubborn. No matter how great your reputation was before, it will gradually fade with time. If you were truly indignant, you would have already overturned the table and left." Tian Guangming stood silently before Li Xiandao, his face ashen.
Li Xiandao hit a nerve.
Tian Guangming had a great reputation and was very arrogant, but these qualities could not withstand the test of time. If he were 500 years younger, Tian Guangming would flip the table and leave without hesitation, without even looking back. But now, he can't make that decision.
14 years. Tian Guangming's expression changed, extremely bitter.
Did he really have to be a slave for 14 years? Li Xiandao nodded and said, "You have to wait 14 years for this opportunity. With these 500,000 divine resources, you will be able to break through to the next realm. Once you break through, you will have a lifespan of over 1,000 years, enough to allow you to continue your glory." The contract was written very clearly in black and white. Tian Guangming fell silent. He was finding it difficult to make a decision. "After you sign the contract, I will send you out to assist one of my envoys in establishing the Heaven and Earth Bank in the Greatly Land. You will serve him for 14 years. After 14 years, you will regain your freedom and be able to come and go as you please." Li Xiandao said calmly. "He's hiring a bodyguard for himself. It's too dangerous to wander around outside without one."
Just 14 years.
Tian Guangming thought it over and over again before finally confirming. Li Xiandao pointed and said, "The Heaven and Earth Bank operates according to the contract. The contract clearly states that you are not allowed to kill innocent people indiscriminately or violate morality. However, if you breach the contract, I will kill you, bring your body back, and freeze it completely." Tian Guangming carefully examined the contract to confirm that everything was correct. It was only with great difficulty that he managed to write his name. Once the name was written down, the contract took effect. Li Xiandao looked on with satisfaction and waved his hand. Shao Qi brought 500,000 units of divine energy and handed them to Tian Guangming. Tian Guangming took a look and was very satisfied. He had finally obtained these divine sources. He had lost 14 years of freedom and self-esteem, so he couldn't say whether it was a loss or a gain. "Because this is something that must be done. From now on, I will serve you for 14 years, Tian Guangming said expressionlessly. "It's not me, but my messenger. He's outside. Go and meet him." Li Xiandao waved his sleeve, and Tian Guangming was swept away without any resistance. Boom. Within the 100,000 mountains of the Lingshu Holy Land, Li Xiandao removed his black robes and dark gold mask, returning to his true self.
Standing atop the mountain peak, he looked down upon the ever-changing clouds, the sun, the moon, and the stars.
A moment later, Tian Guangming appeared behind Li Xiandao, looking at him with a surprised and uncertain expression. Li Xiandao has no cultivation at all, so how could he be an envoy from the Heaven and Earth Money House? Li Xiandao turned around, looked at Tian Guangming, and said, "Are you the thugs that Master found for me?" Tian Guangming looked at Li Xiandao with resentment. "A thug is fine, it's better than being called a servant." "Yes, that's me," Tian Guangming said expressionlessly, though he was very dissatisfied. He had thought the envoy was a great master, but who would have thought he was just a young man with no cultivation at all? He, the mighty White Emperor, had actually become a henchman of an ordinary person with no cultivation. It's so embarrassing to tell anyone. But the contract was already signed, and Tian Guangming couldn't resist it. "Is this the Spirit Void Holy Land?" Tian Guangming looked around and realized that it was very familiar. Wasn't this the territory of the Spirit Void Holy Land? This is now the 10,000 mountains of my Heaven and Earth Bank. The so-called Lingshu Holy Land has been disbanded. Li Xiandao said calmly, his hands behind his back, his clothes fluttering in the wind. "The Lingshu Holy Land has disbanded?" Tian Guangming stared wide-eyed in disbelief. The Spirit Void Holy Land possessed a celestial artifact, so why was it disbanded? Tian Guangming asked in confusion. "His immortal artifact belongs to my Heaven and Earth Bank. 10,000 years ago, he signed a contract to borrow the Emperor's brush and then withheld it. So I'm here to collect the debt." Li Xiandao turned and entered the Golden Cauldron Hall. Tian Guangming followed behind, still deeply shocked. The Lingshu Holy Land had been disbanded just like that? Even now, he still feels a bit like it's not real. Just who exactly is this Heaven and Earth Bank? Is it really that terrifying? Is there anything I can do for you? Tian Guangming asked Li Xian. Li Xiandao thought for a moment and said, "There's nothing for you to do for now. Go back to Baidi City and focus on your breakthrough. If you can break through, it will be a great help to me."
Ieye hibe yutime.
Tian Guangming said in surprise, "You're letting me go back now? If I break through the past 14 years in one go, then the time will be cancelled out." "It doesn't matter. Making you a slave for 14 years is not a humiliation for you, but an opportunity. The 9 heavens and 10 earths are so vast. My Heaven and Earth Bank is in dire need of manpower. If you can't seize the opportunity, you won't be able to rise to the top. If you can go into seclusion for 14 years, you will be the one who suffers the most." Li Xiandao said indifferently. "He has enough pocket watches, but he's missing a so-called White Emperor henchman?"
Chapter 18 Fusión Talent.
After seeing Tian Guangming off, Li Xiandao returned to the Heaven and Earth Money House. Thinking of the look Tian Guangming gave him before he left, Li Xiandao couldn't help but laugh. A frog at the bottom of a well will never know the vastness of the world if it doesn't jump out. Li Xiandao had decided from the beginning to let Tian Guangming go back to break through. If he was smart, he would have rushed over immediately after breaking through. Li Xiandao, who had returned to the Heaven and Earth Bank, looked at Xiao Qi. "Is no one else coming?" Li Xiandao asked curiously. "Not yet. Of the 10 pocket watches this time, only 2 have found owners. The other 8 are still wandering, waiting to find suitable people." Xiao Qi shook her head. "There's no rush. We're also short on our own resources right now. We only have a few 100,000 divine sources. We've given all the immortal artifacts to Zhou Tianyu, so it's a bit difficult to find someone to trade for the pocket watch," Li Xiandao said understandingly. "The pocket watch doesn't find people randomly. It determines who it's trading with based on what the Heaven and Earth Bank has in stock. There are many people lacking divine resources, but very few are likely to catch the eye of the Heavenly Bank, which is why they have been unable to find one for so long." Li Xiandao wasn't in a hurry. His mind was focused on the talent he had just acquired.
The Prophet's Talent.
Xiaoqi said this was an extremely rare and unparalleled talent, something that could only be encountered by chance. What Li Xiandao lacked most was talent. He's 18 years old this year, but so far, Li Xiandao hasn't even entered the initial stage of cultivation. How shameful. One reason is that Li Xiandao was a slave in his early days, lacking resources and cultivation techniques, making it impossible for him to cultivate. In the 3 months since Li Xiandao transmigrated, he has secretly learned martial arts and now has resources, but he still hasn't started exploring the wilderness. This is a matter of talent.
How is my talent?
Li Xiandao asked Xiao Qi.
Tell me the truth.
A hint of embarrassment appeared on Xiao Qi's beautiful face. Li Xiandao nodded. I just want to hear the truth. Any beggar you randomly pick on the street might be more talented than your master, Xiao Qi said truthfully.
Li Xiandao fell silent, feeling a little short of breath.
That's such a harsh truth. Change it, we must change our talent. Li Xiandao said decisively. If he didn't change his talent, he would be a waste for life. Even if he develops the heaven and earth money house, he himself will still be a useless person, and Li Xiandao cannot bear this injustice. Xiao Qi laughed and said, Does Master know why I asked you to exchange for the other person's talent? Why? Li Xiandao asked. It's because I can help my master change his talents. Not only that, I can also activate the prophet talent, Xiao Qi said with a gentle smile. Li Xiandao exclaimed in surprise. You can activate your talent? If a person with exceptional talent fails to demonstrate their abilities in the early stages, their talent will remain dormant, waiting to be activated. But among the vast majority of people in the world, many never fully realize their talents throughout their lives. Birth, aging, sickness, and death, worldly desires, love, hate, and grudges, bitterness abounds. All these things, and people struggling through them, will eventually lose their minds and forget to develop their talents. Therefore, many people don't realize when they are dying that if they had just tried a little harder, they could have become an outstanding person. Only a few people, amidst the struggles and tribulations of the masses, persevere in their original aspirations and emerge as the best and most authentic versions of themselves. These kinds of people are called prodigies. There are many geniuses, generation after generation, as numerous as carp crossing a river. But only a handful of them ultimately transform into prodigies. That's why Li Xiandao was surprised that Xiao Qi could activate her talent. I am the spirit of the Heaven and Earth Bank, but I am also a real person with my own emotions and abilities, except that I cannot live without the Heaven and Earth Bank. I'm no different from a human, so does Master want me to help you fuse your talents? Xiao Qi asked with a smile. Li Xiandao looked at Xiao Qi's stunningly beautiful face and nodded gently. Sit down, Xiao Qi instructed Li Xiandao.
Close your eyes.
Li Xiandao obediently complied.
Clear your mind.
Li Xiandao cleared his mind.
Forget everything. Li Xiandao slowly forgot everything.
Xiao Qi took out Zhou Tianyu's talent from the jade box, then slowly extracted Li Xiandao's talent, and finally stuffed Zhou Tianyu's talent back in. This is just the first step. The second step, and the key one, is integration. If you have talent but it clashes with your own nature, that's a bigger problem, and it's more likely to kill you. So Xiao Qi was very obedient, well-behaved, and carefully helped Li Xiandao begin the fusion process. This integration took place very quickly. 3 days have passed in the blink of an eye. For 3 days, Li Xiandao hid in the Heaven and Earth money shop, ignoring worldly affairs. However, the outside world is in turmoil. First, the Lingshu Holy Land was forced to disband, lost the immortal artifact Emperor Brush, and lost Luo Shui, who was at the level of a Saint Lord, and Feng Luo, who was at the level of a sect master, which shocked everyone. The entire Lingshu Holy Land has been occupied by a mortal with no cultivation. The remaining people of the Lingshu Holy Land split into many small sections. Lacking their own territory, they resorted to seizing others' lands. As the ancient Holy Land collapsed, countless small sects were established. No one dared to say they wanted to take revenge on Li Xiandao. The Emperor's brush was so powerful it was terrifying. None of the elders or deacons of the Lingshu Holy Land had any guts.
Prolonged comfort extinguished the passion of the Lingshu Holy Land.
In the past few days, the Heavenly Dao sect has not been quiet either. A young man at the Dao-seeking realm, carrying a celestial artifact, stormed up to the gates of the Heavenly Dao sect, declaring his intention to kill Ming Tu, the son of the acting sect leader. This enraged the Heavenly Dao sect, and the current sect leader, Ming Kuan, stepped in to handle the matter. Inside Baidi City, Baidi Tian Guangming was breaking through. He had been back for 3 days, burning 500,000 units of divine energy to break through his cultivation realm. With the help of this power, Tian Guangming broke through in one fell swoop. I have finally reached the heavenly origin realm.
Tian Guangming's body underwent changes.
His white hair disappeared and black hair grew. His loose skin became strong. He gained an extra 1,000 years of lifespan and is now at his absolute peak.
The cultivation realm starts from the wilderness, goes through the mortal transformation, the cycle of life, the pursuit of the Tao, enters the nirvana, the void, enters the earthly branches, and the heavenly origin.
Tian Guangming moved his wrists, feeling that he had endless energy to release at any time. Reaching the earthly branch level in cultivation is equivalent to the widely circulated title of Master in the Greatly Earth. Many sect leaders in the Greatly Earth sect are at this level. Tian Guangming was also at this level before. In addition, his cultivation technique was so domineering that he could fight 10 people at once, which is why he was known as the White Emperor. But even such a powerful heavenly light could not contend with a great power at the heavenly origin realm. The heavenly origin realm, also known as the Saint Lord level of combat power. That is, the realm of Luo Shui before. Now that Tian Guangming has reached this level, his dream has been fulfilled. Boom. Just as Tian Guangming was feeling happy, a tremendous aura erupted from the distant Xiandao sect's mountain gate, drawing Tian Guangming's attention. This is the power of a celestial artifact.
Tian Guangming expressed Chen.
He hadn't expected Zhou Tianyu to ascend to the Heavenly Dao sect so quickly. Let's go take a look. I also want to witness the power of a celestial artifact. Tian Guangming pondered for a moment and immediately headed to the Heavenly Dao sect's mountain gate. Chapter 19: The Power of Immortal Artifacts. The Heavenly Dao sect is a top-tier power in the Greatly Land, even stronger than the Eternal Holy Land. The Lingshu Holy Land is no match for the Heavenly Dao sect. The Lingshu Holy Land has over 10,000 disciples, a lineage spanning 10,000 years, and occupies the 10,000 mountains, possessing countless resources. The Heavenly Dao sect has hundreds of thousands of disciples, a lineage spanning millions of years, and occupies countless secret realms. It also has intricate connections with the immortal realm and other parts of the 9 heavens and 10 earths. This is also why the disciples of the Heavenly Dao sect are so arrogant. Because they are the undisputed champions of the Greatly region, it is no exaggeration to call them the #1 power. The disciples of the Heavenly Dao sect never imagined that one day they would be attacked and humiliated at their doorstep. This is what they've always done in the past. When Zhou Tianyu stepped onto the Heavenly Dao sect's mountain gate with the celestial artifact, the Heavenly Emperor brush, the hatred in his eyes was uncontrollably revealed. His parents' revenge. His family's feud. His dearest younger brother and sister. His childhood sweetheart. Everything he had in his life was destroyed by the Heavenly Dao sect. Zhou Tianyu wished he could fall into the demonic path and borrow powerful strength to completely destroy the Heavenly Dao sect. Fortunately, Chendi Moneyhouse gave him this opportunity. Otherwise, he would probably have gone mad long ago from the torment he endured day and night. Today, Zhou Tianyu has come to collect his blood debt. Zhou Tianyu's eyes were bloodshot as he stepped onto the Heavenly Dao sect, his aura suddenly surging. Although he had only reached the Dao realm, he traded his talent for a celestial artifact. This magical artifact is his source of confidence. Boom. The Emperor's brush appeared, its jade-like body shimmering with a bright light, making it very eye-catching. The next second, the Emperor's brush made a light stroke in the air, and a character appeared. Broken. Rumble. In the distance, the 4 great mountains of the Heavenly Dao sect collapsed in an instant, and before Zhou Tianyu's eyes, it was like a fireworks display, extremely beautiful.
Who dares to wrong wild in my heavenly Dao sect?
They're courting death. Our heavenly Dao sect has not shown its strength for a long time, and now it is being bullied at will. This is simply outrageous. No matter who it is, whether they are a powerful figure of the righteous path or an emperor of the demonic path, they will surely die today.
Disciples of the heavenly Dao sect, heed my command.
Seal off the heavens and earth, and prevent the thieves from escaping. The shouts echoed throughout the heavens and the earth, reverberating among the mountains, filled with resentment and fury. When has the heavenly Dao sect ever been humiliated like this? They stormed the mountain gate and even shattered 4 of their mountains. They were practically courting death. Upon hearing these words, Zhou Qianyu revealed a mocking smile and said, "I never intended to run away today. Of all things in the world, reason is the most important.
I'm here to reason with you."
Reason. This is what Zhou Qianyu insisted on. I did nothing to offend you, yet you killed my entire family and raped my fiancée because of her beauty.
You've lost your temper.
So even if it costs me my life, I will explain this to you clearly.
A life for a life. That's only right.
This principle will be born from the emperor's pen. Seeing the elders and disciples of the heavenly Dao sect all gather around, Zhou Qianyu was not afraid at all. He took a step forward and stood in the square of the heavenly Dao sect. "Mingtu, come out and pay with your life," Zhou Qianyu said coldly. "How dare you? How dare you address senior brother Mingtu by his name?" A disciple shouted. He was the first to flatter and express his loyalty. Zhou Qianyu looked at him with indifference in his eyes. "If you protect Mingtu, then you are Mingtu's accomplice. Since we're in cahoots, let's go." With the emperor's brush in hand, Zhou Qianyu struck the paper and the character Wang, death, appeared. In an instant, the sycophantic disciple died on the spot. He died suddenly without any warning. The disciples of the heavenly Dao sect were startled. Why are we involuntarily creating distance between ourselves? Anyone who stands up for Mingtu today is considered Mingtu's henchman and accomplice, and will be killed without question. Zhou Qianyu warned beforehand, then looked at the mountains and valleys and roared. "Mingtu, a remnant of the Zhou family, has come to explain things to you. My heavenly Dao sect doesn't need to reason with you," an old and cold voice responded, accompanied by a sharp palm print that surged down, intending to kill Zhou Qianyu. Ramble. D. Many elders of the heavenly Dao sect watched this attack with indifference. They believed that Zhou Qianyu, who was only at the Dao-seeking realm, was doomed. However, this does not include Tian Guangming. He stood atop a mountain peak, his eyes cold and clear, looking at Zhou Qianyu, especially at the immortal artifact Zhou Qianyu was holding in his hand, the emperor's brush. He was probably the only one in the entire room who knew that this was a celestial artifact. The sect leader of the heavenly Dao sect intervened to protect his son and wanted to kill Zhou Qianyu, which made Tian Guangming sneer.
This is the consequence of spoiling honest offspring.
They become unrestrained and reckless, showing no reverence for heaven and earth. They are simply scum. There are too many people like this in the heavenly Dao sect now. They are corrupting generation after generation. If it weren't for their foundation, they would have declined long ago. Tian Guangming sneered. He had no offspring and could express his opinion rationally. The sins committed by Mingtu will ultimately have to be repaid by the heavenly Dao sect. He deserves to die. If Tian Guangming were the current leader of the heavenly Dao sect, he would definitely order the execution of Mingtu to set things right. Unfortunately, the current leader of the heavenly Dao sect is Mingtu's father, who decided to protect Mingtu and kill Zhou Qianyu to make a big deal out of a small one. Damn it! Zhou Qianyu's eyes turned ferocious. He had kindly tried to reason with the other party, but the other party slapped him without saying a word, as if to kill him. Since you won't listen to my reasoning, then let the emperor's brush teach you the lesson. Zhou Qianyu sneered, releasing his grip and letting the emperor's brush float up on its own. Kill him. Zhou Qianyu issued a cold command. The emperor's brush suddenly grew larger, reaching a size of 100 meters, and wrote several words in the void. Thunderous force. The moment those words were written, the sky suddenly changed color, thunderclouds gathered, and dark clouds covered the sky. Rumble. A thunderbolt struck out with tremendous force, severing the hand of the Heavenly Tao sect's leader, leaving many Heavenly Tao sect elders dumbfounded. What kind of magical artifact is this? To be able to cause such a powerful tremor of heaven and earth by writing just a few words, could this be a celestial artifact? An elder speculated. A celestial artifact. This is actually a celestial artifact. A celestial artifact wouldn't listen to a mere kid at the Tao-seeking realm, would it? If it's not a celestial artifact, how could it have such great power? Seeing this, Tian Guangming smiled. He was most pleased to see the Xiandao sect leader make a fool of himself and suffer a setback. You'll soon find out just how much trouble your son has gotten you into. With your meager cultivation level, you can't possibly withstand it. Tian Guangming sneered, determined to watch the show and not get involved. Meanwhile, the Heavenly Tao sect leader, who was hiding in the cloud recesses, was furious. He didn't take Zhou Tianyu seriously at all, regarding him as an ant that he could crush at will. But who would have thought that this ant would bite him back? Although he wasn't seriously injured, he lost face completely. The Heavenly Tao sect leader stepped out, traversing a distance of 300 miles, about to descend upon the main hall and tear Zhou Tianyu to pieces. But at this moment, the Emperor's brush once again unleashed its power, locking onto the opponent and actually writing a character in the void. Quote. A sharp sword light emerged from the void, flew out, and slashed horizontally, causing the Heavenly Tao sect master's expression to change drastically. He hurriedly tried to defend himself, but to no avail, and his body was instantly shattered into several pieces. The leader of the Heavenly Tao sect is dead.
Chapter 20. Tian Guangming stepped forward.
The Heavenly Emperor's brush, a celestial artifact, was used to instantly kill the current leader of the Heavenly Tao sect, much to everyone's surprise. Even though everyone guessed that this was a celestial artifact with considerable power, no one expected that it would kill the current leader of the Heavenly Tao sect in an instant. Ming Kuan, the leader of the Heavenly Tao sect, possesses combat strength at the Saint Lord level. Even if he is incompetent, he shouldn't be killed by a mere child at the Tao Inquiry realm, right? Even though this kid is holding a celestial artifact. Can someone at the Tao-seeking realm activate a celestial artifact? The power of a ritual implement depends on the strength of its user. A cultivator at the Tao Inquiry realm probably can't even successfully activate a celestial artifact, so how could they possibly kill a powerful being at the Saint Lord level? Everyone in the Heavenly Tao sect, from top to bottom, was completely baffled. Even Tian Guangming, who knew the inside story, was stunned. He only guessed that Mingquan would suffer a loss, but he never expected that Mingquan would be killed so suddenly. This is way too exaggerated. Can a celestial artifact be used without a master? Tian Guangming couldn't help but ask himself. Zhou Tianyu ignored their surprise. Seeing that the Emperor's brush had killed the leader of the Heavenly Tao sect in an instant, he couldn't help but burst into laughter.
Father, mother, brother, sister, may your souls rest in peace now.
Today I will avenge you and make this clear. After laughing, Zhou Tianyu roared in grief and indignation, finally able to release the anger that had been suppressed in his heart. Who are you? We have no grudge against each other. Why are you bringing a celestial artifact to my Heavenly Tao sect and causing trouble? An elder of the Heavenly Tao sect stepped forward and angrily rebuked. Even with a celestial artifact in hand, they dared not underestimate Zhou Tianyu. No enmity or grudge. Zhou Tianyu sneered, his eyes turning cold. You should ask your young master Mingtu if he knows me. Zhou Tianyu said coldly.
Mingtu.
The elder's expression changed. He immediately thought of Mingtu's arrogant and domineering personality, turned around and roared, "Bring Mingtu here." With the sect leader dead, no one is protecting Mingtu anymore, and the atmosphere within the Heavenly Tao sect is now somewhat delicate. A short while later, Mingtu was dragged over with a scream. Ban. Mingtu was left in the square. When he saw Zhou Tianyu, he was so frightened that his legs went weak and he hurriedly retreated. Upon seeing Mingtu, Zhou Tianyu's aura suddenly became violent. This is the person in front of me who caused my family to be destroyed. This is the man in front of him who raped his fiancée. This is the person in front of me who is willing to give up everything to seek revenge. Mingtu, do you still recognize me? Zhou Tianyu said through gritted teeth. Mingtu was terrified when he saw the look in Zhou Tianyu's eyes that seemed to want to devour him alive. He quickly said, Zhou Tianyu, I'm very sorry about what happened to your family. I can compensate you.
Source, Spiritual Ban, Magic Weapon, Cultivation Technique, I can give you anything. Please spare me.
Having witnessed his father's murder, Mingtu was terrified and no longer dared to argue with Zhou Tianyu. He wished he could give Zhou Tianyu all his wealth in exchange for a chance to survive. I used to have all these things, but you destroyed them all.
Now we have nothing. Can you give me back what I love?
Zhou Tianyu roared furiously, his face contorted with rage. Mingtu was so frightened that he fell to the ground. At this moment, Zhou Tianyu looked like a demon crawling out of hell to take his life.
Master, sábeme.
Mingtu immediately looked at the first elder under his father and pleaded for help. The grand elder sighed helplessly and stepped forward, saying, Young friend, Mingtu has already paid the price. You even killed his father. Can you spare him? You're going to stand up for him? Zhou Tianyu said coldly. The elder said bitterly, This is, after all, my disciple. Acting as an accomplice to evil, if it weren't for elders like you backing him up, he would have been a traitor. Even if he had the guts of a bear and the gall of a leopard, he wouldn't dare slaughter my entire clan and rape my fiancée. How dare you say such high-sounding words today? He made a mistake, but you can't escape responsibility either. D. Zhou Tianyu was furious and couldn't suppress his anger, so he urged the emperor's brush. Thump. The emperor's brush fell directly down, and a huge character for death appeared out of thin air before smashing into the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder was powerless to resist. He was also a quasi-Saint Lord level fighter, and his death was far too tragic. Mingtu stared blankly, his eyes filled with despair. Both of his powerful backers were dead. Who will save him? The other elders of the Heavenly Dao sect all looked serious, feeling troubled, staring at Zhou Tianyu, at a loss for what to do. This is the power of a celestial artifact. Only when the core celestial restriction is opened can it have such great power. Unless a saint intervenes, no one can withstand it. What should we do? An elder said with a frown. The power of the emperor's brush left them helpless. Zhou Tianyu is nothing to him. Go and invite the Supreme Elder, an elder immediately said. But as soon as he finished speaking, an old figure appeared in the square, standing in front of Zhou Tianyu, staring at the oppressive aura of the emperor's brush, walking around as if no one else was there. Young friend, I am the former leader of the Heavenly Dao sect. Now I have retired and no longer concern myself with worldly affairs. On behalf of the Heavenly Dao sect, I apologize to you. The old man bowed sincerely. The elders of the Heavenly Dao sect fell silent. With the Supreme Elder appearing and speaking publicly, what else could they say? My Zhou family has 149 members, and my fiancé's family has more than a dozen members. All of them died because of your Heavenly Dao sect disciple. You think you can just let it go with a casual apology? Zhou Tianyu sneered, refusing to accept the apology. The elders of the Heavenly Dao sect glared at Zhou Tianyu, feeling that he had gone too far. The Supreme Elder was close to the saint level, and he had apologized, yet Zhou Tianyu refused to accept it. Do you really think you can do whatever you want just because you have a magical artifact? Our Heavenly Dao sect is handing over all those closely connected to Mingtu to you for your disposal, Tian Guangming said loudly as he walked over. The Supreme Elder glanced at Tian Guangming, his brows furrowing slightly, but seeing the Emperor's brush stirring with desire, he suppressed his temper and nodded gently. Young friend, Mingtu killed your entire family, so now you can kill Mingtu's entire family. I'll hand over all your blood relatives to you, including the disciples who used to bully others with him, the Supreme Elder said. Zhou Tianyu sneered. Fine, then start picking out the people for me.
Tian Guangming, don't even think about fooling me.
Tian Guangming shook his head and said, How could I dare to fool you? Both of them recognized each other and knew the truth, so they couldn't fake it. Tian Guangming knew who owned the Heavenly Emperor's brush, how strong Zhou Tianyu's desire for revenge was, and the terror of the Heavenly Bank, which is why he stood up after the sect leader's death. The Supreme Elder looked at the bright sky and asked in surprise, White Emperor, you've broken through? Bai Di Tian Guangming broke through from the combat power of a sect leader to the combat power of a saint. With his terrifying skills, he could immediately gain a foothold among saints. Now, the Heavenly Dao sect doesn't know whether this is a blessing or a curse.